It's hard to welcome everybody. Courtney, I see Devin, welcome. Thank you guys for joining. It is 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. So of course, we are going to get started on time. Can't do a training on norms and not get started on time, right? That's kind of violating the whole purpose of the norms training. So we are going to kick things off. Appreciate you guys joining. This is the first of 3 options, so we wanted to make sure that was really clear to folks. You're not required to join all 3. We just have 3 options so that folks can choose the time that is most convenient for them. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joanne Gama. I'm the Chief Human Assets Officer here at PLA. You might get emails from me every now and then. Typically, you hear my voice on our national team huddles as well. For being patient, we want to go ahead and kick things off. This is a session on norms. We have had norms at PLA for a while now. We have typically shared those on National Team Huddle. These are kind of revised and improved, and the purpose of our session is just to really make sure we're putting norms front and center, that we all know and can name the 10 norms and kind of understand what it means to operationalize them. So to get us started, I'd love for folks to just take 30 seconds to think, and then we will share out. Why is it important to have norms at an organization, and specifically at PLA? Why is it important for us to have norms that we use to engage with each other? Take 30 seconds to think about that and then drop it in the chat if you don't mind. Yes, thank you, Chris. Helps maintain culture. Thank you, Paul. Keeps everyone rowing in the same direction. Consistency. Annalise says it ensures we all operate in a similar way and creates consistency for our stakeholders. Kiana makes doing business effective and efficient. Clear expectations, more along the lines of consistency. Great. Karina, can I ask you to come off chat and just off mute and share with folks? I'm seeing a lot of consistency, clarity, expectations, everyone on the same page. If you don't mind elaborating on that a little bit for us, what you think about when you think about having norms at an organization.
Yeah. So, when I think about norms, I just think about the things that we want to see, across the board, and the things that we want to see, for everyone. So, that could be, the certain expectations that we have, or the things that we want to see, in meetings, or when we're meeting, with like certain stakeholders.
Yeah, thank you. Stephanie Upshaw is an RD. Can I call on you? I like your comment there. Creates common language and understanding. Anything you'd add to that or build off what Karina was saying?
No, just when we're in an organization where we have norms and everybody understands what each specific norms mean, it creates just commonality amongst all of us. So pretty
Absolutely. And super important for folks like Stephanie, who are regional directors and manage different schools in some of our regions. So thank you guys for that. This is not going to be a presentation where we talk at you for 45 minutes. So I will be cold calling on folks, typically folks I see on my screen. I'll try to also make sure that I'm scrolling down so I see more folks, but we want you guys engaged, obviously, and want you guys talking and interacting with each other. So norms, we just think it's super important to define norms. They are a lot of what you guys already said in the chat, right? They're agreed upon expectations or behaviors that guide how individuals at PLA interact, right? They create a shared understanding. That's exactly what Stephanie said of what's acceptable, and they help maintain order, efficiency, and really can help build a positive culture. And the purpose, obviously, of having norms is to establish clear expectations for behavior, create that sense of order, and promote that positive and productive environment. Norms in an organization are essential, as we said, because they create consistency, clarity, accountability. Lots of those words we already heard from you guys in the chat. and they help drive the overall effectiveness of a team. And in this instance, we're really thinking about the national team and how the national team creates consistency, clarity, and accountability when we're interacting with our schools, right? And so here are some key reasons why norms matter. Annalise, I'd love for you to read those key reasons for us in terms of why norms matter.
Let me come off mute.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Perfectly.
Great. Some reasons why norms matter are they establish clear expectations, they enhance collaboration and teamwork, they increase accountability, support organizational culture and values, improve decision-making, build psychological safety, and increase efficacy and productivity.
Thank you so much. Perfect. It's great to hear different voices. So thank you guys. These are our 10 norms. As we have laid them out, as we have defined them, I think Arlene will be dropping a link in the chat right now. It's a link that we shared with you guys on the National Huddle. It's a link I've shared with you in an email already. States each of the norms, defines each of the norms, and shares kind of how you ensure you are operating highly effectively when it comes to that norm, right? And what I'd like you to do is if you have a sheet of paper, Post-it, notebook, maybe you need to open up a document on your computer. As if you were in my 4th grade math class, I'd love you to just take that sheet of paper and number it 1 through 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And for each of these norms, I'm going to give you just 2 minutes right now to just do a quick pre-self-assessment. Where would you rank yourself in terms of prioritizing schools and scholars? Arlene did drop that link in case you need to look at it. Would you say you're highly effective, improvement necessary, or requires action? So you're numbering your paper 1 through 10, and you're going to give yourself a 1 through 4 for each of these norms. And I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock to allow you to do that. The quick pre-self-assessment. We'll do an official self-assessment at the end of the presentation. One more minute, and for those of us that are just joining us, we are giving ourselves a self-assessment on our 10 norms, meaning ranking ourselves 1 through 4 for each of the norms displayed on the slide. All right, that is our time. You will have time as we go through each of the norms to add your self-assessment if you didn't get to that one, to change your self-assessment based off what you hear. And then keep in mind at the end of our 45 minutes together, we're going to actually do a self-assessment on a Google survey so that we can capture kind of where we feel we are at as a national team. And I'll let you know what it is we're going to do with that information once we have it. So keep your quiz near to you so that you can make those changes. All right, our very first norm, prioritize schools and scholars. And I would say we try very hard to make sure a lot of our norms are listed in priority. And this is definitely priority number one. As a national team at PLA, we exist to support our schools, thereby supporting our scholars. And I'd love, Ashley Boyd, do you mind reading the definition for me of prioritizing schools and scholars?
Yes, so the school staff, so that includes leaders and regional directors, and scholars are customers in our priority. Emergencies require an all hands on deck approach.
That's right. And what does this look like when we are operationalizing it, Ashley?
Address school needs proactively and ensure swift and comprehensive solutions.
That's right. So you should have already rated yourself here a 1 through 4 in terms of how quick are you to prioritize our schools and our scholars' needs. But because we feel this is just one of our most important ones, we're going to take some time to do small group discussion. And as we go into breakout rooms, I'll also drop this in the chat. We're gonna have 5 minutes in breakout groups. Really want you to share an example of where you applied this norm well, and one of maybe where you could have been quicker. It took you too long to move to action. It's really important that we're vulnerable here because obviously we're looking to make sure that we're always growing, learning, and improving. So we've got 5 minutes in small group discussions. Share an example where you applied this norm well, and one where you could have been a little bit quicker in terms of prioritizing our schools and scholars. Arlene will be opening up our breakout rooms for groups of 4. As we are waiting on team members to come back, would anyone like to come off of mute and share something they heard from a team member in terms of an example where they applied this norm well, and more importantly, one where they think they could have improved?
Come off.
Yana.
Both Abby and I and Emily like kind of discussed how or all three of us discussed how we prioritize the schools, but when you have multiple schools, that's the good thing. The thing that we do well is that we do focus like what is best for the school and what do I need to do for the school. But when you have multiple schools, sometimes just juggling that priority, that's the thing that, all of us said maybe we can do well because the loudest school gets the most attention at the time. Whereas, the quieter school, you might like forget a little bit, or like, oh shoot, I need to, do something there. So just being better, prioritizing to ensure that all of the schools that we are supporting are getting equitable support.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. One more person. I think it's important what you said. I'll stamp, Kiana, right? How do we make sure we're just not serving our louder schools better and quicker, right? Sometimes, folks are not as loud and they still need our time and attention. One more person.
I'll go.
Thank
Is this
you.
just any just random group? We're just kind of stepping up.
We're sharing the answer to the question on share an example where you applied this norm, meaning prioritizing schools and scholars well.
Sure. So I was in a group, again, Mark Radford, I'm in Indianapolis, Adult Ed Services. I was in a room with Raul, Chris, and Nate, and we represent an eclectic group of marketing, HR, and grants, and of course, student services. We pretty much were consistent across the board with 3s. I am new to the organization. I'm in week 4. So I didn't want to rank myself too high, of course, but I have had a dose of, student service issues or emergencies or needs, barriers, et cetera. So with the help of the team, we have, I think, addressed those as rapidly as possible. There's still a lot to learn. I would say that's where I can improve in my learning. Some of the other feedback was more interaction with schools, in-person visits, maybe increase that, as well as just making sure in our, heavy workloads, getting out correct information in a timely manner to help the team is where we can all, I think, improve. So
Yeah, thank you for that,
those are
Mark.
good.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
you.
that group also, sharing that there's threes and room for improvement. All right, let's go to number 2, timely communication. Let me have Chris from HR. Why don't you read that definition and tell us how we operationalize timely communication?
Sure. So timely communication definition, respond to emails and calls within 24 hours or 48 hours if in the field. Operationalization, committing a response, or commit to responding to emails and calls within 24 hours or 48 hours if in the field. This ensures schools feel supported and valued. Self-assessment activity, right, again.
Yeah, so make sure you're self-assessing yourself there on your quiz that we started on slide 5. I'd love for folks in the chat to just, drop in the chat, what are some barriers to timely communication and solutions? But we need to stamp here. We should, to the extent that we can, make sure every day before we log off and close out our computers that we have responded to all of the requests that have come in from our schools regarding our schools or scholars, or even from our national team members. Everything our national team does is in pursuit of those schools and scholars, right? So just having it in your calendar, built in time to make sure you close out the loop on all of your emails for the day. Yeah, Nick, right? What are some barriers? Just the quantity, right? Nick is a regional operations manager, is directly supporting our schools, right? And so I'm sure just the quantity of emails and requests that come in can sometimes make it hard to keep up, right? Dr. Felix, maybe access to technology could be a barrier or a platform, particularly if you're new. Making sure you have everything that you need to be able to service them. Sean, just time, right? When you're dealing with compliance, when you're dealing with SPED and student issues, just making sure you have the time. And I'll build off what Mark said earlier too, right? And making sure what you get them is correct, because sometimes we can be really quick to respond because we want it to be within 24 hours. I see lots of head nods here. We also have to just make sure that the information we're giving them is correct, right? Yep, thank you, Nick, for that. And Andrea, the level of input needed to close out, right? Sometimes you want to close it out, but you've got to talk to 3 or 4 other people. So just being cognizant of all that, build time in your calendar. And please know our expectation is that we are responding to our schools within 24 hours and 48 hours if you're in the field. So sometimes you are traveling, you are on an airplane, you are out visiting our schools. And so we like to make sure we've got those out of office messages that say, not necessarily out of office, but I'm in the schools visiting, and I may, take a little bit longer to respond to your question. But when you can, making sure you're closing out the loop there.
And
Third,
yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say one more thing. And
yeah.
that can also look like, especially like if you are having to reach out to other people to be able to provide a complete response, that timely communication also looks like just saying, hey, thank you for the email. I've received it. This is what I'm currently working on, and I will circle back to you. That's another thing that you could do within 24 hours. And that's something that I've worked on to do more, just so to ensure that the other person knows that I've received it.
Absolutely. And that shows up in another norm. But I'm so glad you brought it up. Was that Adrian?
Yes.
I see everybody's talking. That's right. It'll come up in another norm, but I'm glad you brought it up. A quick got it. Be right back to you. It needs some more time, circling back, just so they know that you have it and you're not, ignoring them, but you're actually actively working on it. Next one, Nick, since you were so engaged in the chat, I would love for you to read effective issue resolution, what that definition is and what it looks like when we operationalize it.
The definition is for unresolved issues spanning more than 2 emails. Pick up the phone to expedite the resolution. And operationalizing resolve issues efficiently by escalating complex matters after 2 unresolved emails and maintaining clear communication throughout the process.
Yeah, just want to stamp. There is a national team email list. On the national team email list, there is a row or column, I should say. There is a column for national team members' phone numbers, and everyone should have a phone number there. That is the phone number that your colleagues are able to call you at. Sometimes we can keep these email chains and reply alls going for several rounds. When really, if 2 folks, if Annalise and I would pick up the phone and call each other, we would be able to get resolution. I'll say Stephanie and I have been able to do this rather quickly when we're talking about school issues or calendars, with RDs. When I just pick up the phone and call, matters get resolved just much quicker. So always remember, in this day and age of technology, that you can get unresolved issues done quicker when we pick up the phone and call. So remember, give yourself your self-assessment there. Be brave and vulnerable, and give yourself a self-assessment for how quick are you to effectively resolve those issues after 2 emails. Let's go our next one, clear and specific requests. Paul, I don't know if I've called on you yet, but you're on my screen.
Include who, what, and when in all requests to minimize ambiguity. Use precise language in communications outlining who, what, and when to minimize confusion. We always allow a 7-day turnaround for a school leader who needs to submit information to the national office.
Yeah, I would love for you guys to drop in the chat if you have been on the receiving end of an email to 7 people asking 1 question and you don't respond because you're not sure if you're the one who is supposed to respond since it's addressed to 7 people, right? So as you think about this, when we are sending, there's a to and there's a CC. Who's the email to? Who the email is to should be who you want to respond. And I also think it's okay to say, to Joanne and Kathy, not sure which one of you this is, but, and then CC, the other folks. I would also say if that email only came to Joanne and it's actually Kathy, Joanne's job is to reply and say, thanks, Kiana, for sending that. I've included Kathy. Kathy, can you let us know X, Y, and Z, right? Rather than just replying to Kiana and saying, hey, that's not me, that's Kathy, if you want to shoot her an email. I don't want to give my team member, Kiana, who is part of the person that I deliver customer service to, or a school principal or a school staff member, more work to do. I want to take that on by adding Kathy or adding who I know is responsible, right? So see, Kiana's the only person who's ever experienced that confusion along with me in the organization. Everybody else gets clear, concise emails. That's great to know. Thank you, Nick. I know there's a few more of you guys out there who have. Thank you, Stephanie, right? We get those every day. If we were to do a little activity, if we had time, and I said, hey, open up your emails right now and go through them and tell me how many emails you have that have 8 or 9 people in the to line. There'd be a lot. There'd be a lot, right? All right. Respectful email practices. Let me pick on someone new. Sarah, can you read from HR? What's the definition of respectful email practices and what does that look like when we operationalize it?
Yes, so direct action items to a single point of contact, limit unnecessary reply all emails, and acknowledge emails with a simple got it. Operationalizing, send clear, actionable emails with concise subject lines and directed action items. Use BCC to avoid unnecessary reply alls and acknowledge important messages with a got it.
Yeah, this gets at what Adrian was talking about earlier. I knew it would show up, right? Definitely say got it so that people know you have their message, you have the content, you know that you need to do something with it. Got it. I'll get back to you in 24 hours. If you need to do some work is always helpful. And then I just want to emphasize, right? Using BCC, and hopefully folks don't think I'm using BCC to be secretive, right? A lot of times when I send a group email, I've actually put everyone in the BCC because I'm actually just sending it to inform. And so when I send that email with everyone in the BCC, if Raul has a question, it's only going to come to me when he hits reply, versus sometimes folks will hit reply all and 140 people at National are going to get Raul's question when it's really just to me, right? So direct things to a single point of contact, limit those reply alls, use BCC to avoid unnecessary reply alls, do quick got it, thank yous, need a minute. All of that is helpful to make sure your team members and those that you're serving know. Thank you, Raul, for putting that. I think including when you expect a reply, but probably was the previous one is also helpful. I'd love folks to just take a minute, open up your emails, review past emails for clarity and efficiency. These are ones that you've sent. I don't actually want you to dissect ones that people have sent you. Take a minute and look at your sent emails. In a minute, you could probably go through 3. And what are you noticing and where can you improve? And I'd like you to drop that in the chat. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. You can probably look at 2 or 3 emails, and I want you to tell me, I want you to be self-reflective. Where can you improve on respectful email practices or even clear and specific requests? 1 minute to look, and then we'll drop in the chat. Yeah, I see lots coming in already, right? Folks already saying, I need to be better about adding time frames or requests for follow-up by adding dates. Love that, Malik, if I'm saying your name right, say I need to be more clear and concise, right? Sometimes we can be really long-winded. How do we be shorter, clearer, and conciser? Dr. Felix, yep, need to use BCC better. Get better at using BCC. I see a lot of that. Oh, I love that, Sean. Ask a peer to review and make suggestions to ensure my messages are
Shout out to
clear.
Adrian for that one. Shout out to Adrian. She slows us down sometimes when we're dealing with emotional situations within our schools.
That's awesome. But you've got your accountability partner, your peer reviewing. Awesome. Lori, thank you. Be more intentional about my ask. What do I need and when? Yes, thank you guys for all of those reflections. We're going to keep going. Proactive feedback. We want to regularly seek and provide feedback to national team to ensure continuous improvement, right? Regularly ask the schools for feedback. Anytime you get those principals on a call, the HR team, anytime we get teachers or staff members on a call, like, how are we doing in our service? Is there anything you need from us? Any feedback you have for my HR team? Any feedback do you have for the SPED team? Any feedback you have for the ops team? You should always feel able to take feedback for your team and bring it back, right? So we want to be proactive about seeking feedback. And I put providing feedback to the national team, to your team, right? Or even to other national team members so that we can all focus on improving. And I should have highlighted that and underscored. We're not about going around and giving feedback to our schools, right? On their response time or anything like that. If you have feedback because a school is not being responsive, you should go to their regional director. This is how we want to be operationalizing ourselves as a national team, right? So regularly ask schools, school leaders, and staff members for feedback on the quality and effectiveness of your support and really act on the insight provided. Share that with your team members. Next one, work with urgency, right? We need to complete tasks on time, and we also have got to anticipate challenges, right? This gets at responding to all those emails with 24 hours, giving a quick got it, moving quickly when, as some folks said, I need to talk to 5 different people before I can give the school an answer. Well, how do we just make sure we're doing that in a time frame that allows us to hit our 24-hour response time? Or if we need more time, we're letting our schools know, right? This is, again, about addressing tasks and requests from schools really promptly, ensuring schools' deadlines are met so that our schools can really just operate without delay. Would love to give you guys, I'm going to actually skip small group discussion because our norm is to start on time and end on time. And I got to make sure that we are moving. So making sure as a national team that we're working with urgency. Being a team player. Is it Jelena? Can I ask you to read? Did I say it right?
It's pronounced Yelena.
Yelena, thank you. Okay, do you mind reading being a team player? What's the definition? What does that look like when we operationalize it, Helena?
Perfect. So the definition is collaborate and engage in a constructive conflict. Operationalizing is collaborate across teams and functions to provide comprehensive support to schools, building trust and fostering a spirit of teamwork. And then do you want me to put what we should do in the chat?
Yeah,
I can read that.
Before you do that, folks might be like, wow, collaborate and engage in constructive conflict. That's how you make sure you're a great team player. We're so good at giving each other shout outs, which is what we want to do in the chat. But it's also being a really good team member. If you go up to your team member and you say, hey, Amber, I know you did X, Y, and Z, but it came across as this way. Or, hey, Helena, I know you did, X, Y, and Z, but schools I'm hearing are taking it in this way, right? You want to make sure you're giving constructive feedback to other team members so that the quality of the customer service they are providing is always on par and is not misconstrued or taken in the wrong way. So yes, Helena, what do we want to do in the chat?
We want to give a shout out to a team member who made a difference in your work.
That's right. And thank you, Dr. Felix. Not all conflict is bad, especially when it's conflict resolution and in the spirit of making us better. But yeah, shout out a national team member who's made a difference and has really been a team player and helped you in your work. All right, Kiana, for always being collaborative. Yeah, Stephanie to Paul Farrington, recognizing Mark and Nick and Tarsha, Charmaine for training, right? Helping to coordinate with schools all of the time. Skilled US, from Mallory to Christy, right? Always being a team player. Ashley Mentor, invaluable to the marketing team. Yep, Paul and Charmaine, Javi for leadership and support. So many of our national team members are just great team players. And so let's make sure, in addition to giving them the shout outs that they deserve, that we're also giving them constructive feedback so that they can perform even better. Professional punctuality, that's on me today, right? Making sure we are starting and ending meetings on time, right? So national team huddle starting on time. This is particularly important when you're meeting with our schools, right? If you told a school you were going to be on at 1 o'clock Eastern, then making sure you're on at 1 o'clock Eastern. If we're doing a training and it starts at the school at 8:30, making sure we are ready to go and starting training 8 to 8:30. And this also means that deliverables are on time because we really just have to respect the schedule of schools and colleagues. So always starting and ending meetings on time. I know that one's really important to Earl. Transparent communication, keeping managers informed and aligned. Hopefully, here at PLA, we always think it is very important to keep managers informed. So if you're requesting something from a school, you're CCing the regional director, right? If you were requesting something from an HR team member, sometimes it's helpful to, CC Kathy and let her know that you're requesting this work from one of the HR generalists or coordinators. The same if you need something from Max on the data team, right? You're CCing Andrea. Not because they want to micromanage or not have this team member help or provide support, It's so that we know everything that's on their plate, and as necessary, managers' jobs are to help team members prioritize, right? So maybe adding or requesting that if Max is going to overburden him, well, his manager will be able to help him identify what he can take off his plate, right? So just keep managers informed, keep school leaders and staff informed of central office actions, decisions, and progress related to their needs all of the time, right? Transparent communication to me is over communication. So keep that in mind when you're supporting our schools, right? And so what we want to do now is we're going to skip this group activity. Arlene is dropping in the chat, guys, a survey. And I'd like for you guys to take the last 2 minutes to complete the survey. It's your attendance that you attended norms training, because I'll be sharing that with senior team. It's also your self-assessment of where you put yourself on where you rank yourself on each of the national norms. And I ask that you be really vulnerable and transparent, because what we want to do in HR and on the training team is provide support to the national team. So if we see, wow, there's a lot of folks that have ranked, really low in terms of, effective issue resolution, then we want to be able to provide support in terms of a training that the national team can attend, in terms of what this really looks like when we operationalize it, and tips and tricks for you to be able to do it better. So take this last minute to take that self-assessment. We will be using it to compile data in terms of how we're doing as a national team. We'll make sure to share it with you guys as well as SLT.
So can I get a thumbs up if you guys are able to access?
Great. Yep. Adrian, Kiana. Yep. So if they're accessing, it means the link is open.
Karina, no?
Yes. People, yes, are in.
No, I'm not.
I'm not sure why not, Karina.
If you're not, drop that in the chat. We'll make sure to put you there specifically. I will stay on if there are any questions. And we will also send out a survey so you can let us know how we can do better in terms of sharing these norms with group 2 and group 3. But thank you guys for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll stick around in case any folks have questions. Right, if there are no other questions, we will go ahead and log off. You guys have a great Monday. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can find my email on the all staff page, and feel free to reach out.